Big life there, big life. Brand new documents now showing Bill Cosby admitted to getting prescription Quaaludes to give them to women he wanted to have sex with. This information coming out of a 2005 deposition 10 years ago in the midst of a lawsuit brought by one of dozens of women who have publicly accused the comedian of sexual assault. Robert Bianchi is a criminal defense attorney. He's live in New York. Richard Bush is an entertainment lawyer and partner at King and Ballo live in Dallas, Texas. Richard, start. Does this change the case for the victims or the accusers?
Unfortunately, probably not. The statute of limitations on a claim like this for anyone who was the victim of a sexual assault is basically 2 years from the date of the assault, and it's pretty much a flat 2-year statute of limitations. So for any victim that was victimized more than 2 years ago, it's going to be a moral victory, but not much of a victory that they can use in court for that reason as well.
This doesn't change the legal standing for Cosby or the victims?
Well, it doesn't change. It doesn't rehabilitate the statute of limitations. Now, if there's for a criminal prosecution, the statute of limitations is 10 years. So anyone who was victimized more than 10 years ago, the statute of limitations for a criminal act can be as much as 10 years, and it is possible that this admission can be used if it's tied to the victim itself.
Okay, so it's 2005. That's 10 years, right, Richard?
Well, it's 10 years. That's by my math, it's 10 years from that date.
Bob, what about this?
Yeah,
what's your view on it?
Yeah, it is a huge moral victory in this particular lawsuit and to vindicate a lot of what these women have said. This is a powerful piece of evidence that's going to have a significant effect on the civil trial. And as your previous guest was saying, as a former prosecutor myself, I'm going to be looking at that admission, and I'm going to be looking and scouring the record for within the 10 years of whether or not there's a victim, because this is a very compelling piece of evidence to present to a jury if the court allows this evidence to be presented to a jury, and it's a very fine level distinction as to whether it will be admitted. But I certainly would be arguing as a prosecutor or as the civil attorney that it shows preparation, it shows plan, it shows motive, and that evidence is compelling, and the prosecution and the civil attorneys did not have it before, and they're going to use it at least. These people want moral victory. They want to have people understand that what they said was correct, and this gives them that right there. And on the legal case, I think it's going to be damaging.
Okay, now, Bob, why is this coming out now? It's been 10 years. Yeah. I mean, this story's been talked about for 10 years, it seems.
You know, listen, I mean, the women that and men for that matter, that are victims of domestic abuse are very reticent about coming forward with it. Data comes out very slowly. Mr. Cosby is a very powerful and wealthy person. He settled that case. The settlement was sealed. And if you don't know the data, I know this is a person who's investigated numerous cases. If you don't know, you can't go after it. So sometimes that information leaks out later and later in time. I mean, we've solved cases that have occurred 20, 30 years later because eventually with the passage of time, somebody talks, somebody wants to come clean, and the information comes out.
Let me bring Richard back into this. Bob's making the case that it's a thin line whether or not a judge would allow this.
Well, let me back up to one thing he just... I think if there is a case that can be brought where the statute of limitations does not prohibit it, my personal view is it probably does come in because it was not just one victim who he did this to, some unrelated prior bad act. They may be able to tie it directly to the victim, in which case it absolutely will come in. The second thing I want to say is in response to the question you just asked, why did this just come out now? My understanding is there was a motion by the press that was brought to the judge that was supervising the case to release this transcript, and that motion was granted. So the press and what has occurred in the press and the publicity this is given is the direct cause of this being released.
None of that came up in previous years, Richard?
Not that I'm aware of. So what happened was when established and everyone was coming forward with this, a new interest for this case obviously came to light, and there was a motion filed to release this transcript, and the judge granted it.
Okay, gentlemen, I got to run. Bob, what's going to happen here, quickly?
I personally think that the judge is going to find, I have a little bit of a disagreement on the evidence law, but not too much of a disagreement. I think what's going to happen is he's going to find there's a common plan, a common scheme here. He said he got these narcotics for the purposes of engaging in sex, not necessarily that he drugged people, because some of those willingly took it. But nevertheless, it's going to be a very powerful piece of evidence that I would be attempting to admit. It's a very close call. I think the judge admits it.
Well, it's a headline today. Robert Bianchi, thank you. Richard Bush in Dallas, thanks to you as well.